Hello everyone, very good morning and good evening. Welcome to our Step Up Circle sessions. Parminder this side. Let's quickly start our today's topic, which is SAP IBP, Integrated Business Planning, right? So a lot of people are there from PP. PP, if you are there from PP, we expect you understand the planning, how the planning need to happen and what kind of planning scenarios would be there. You would be understanding a little bit part of the planning, but there are people from the technical modules, ABAP are also there. There are people from MM side, SD side. Those are the people who would not be that much of adhere or that much of having a knowledge related to planning. So what I would be trying to do first is that in today's session, whoever is coming in this session, whether you belong from ABAP, SD, PP, QM, IBP, whatever the module you belong from, first let's understand, let's make a quick ground so that everybody would be able to cop up in the session. I don't want to use the heavy terminology, consensus demand straight away, and then many people are confused. Arey yaar, kidhar fas gaye? Right? So let's come on the same ground and let's try to understand ki bhaiya, what is planning? What is planning? Why do we need a planning? Right? Then you would be able to understand why this big tools and different, so many tools. Within SAP, you will see for the planning, there are so many different tools are there, and outside market is also full. Once you understand what is planning, what is required, then you would be able to appreciate that, okay, these kind of tools are there, which require very complex algorithms to help us to do the plan, right? So let's try to answer the first question, what is planning, right? Now, planning can be there into the multiple places. Okay, planning can be there into the multiple places. And I would say planning would be there at all the places also, right? If you start with the selling, if you want to sell to your customer, there's a two kind of sales you do to your customer, right? First kind of sale is your make to order, right? Make to order kind means you only produce, okay, when you get the order, or you only procure when you get the order. Okay, so some things are designed to order also. You get the order, then you do the design, then you ship it, right? That's, let's say you get an order for an aeroplane, you get an order from the ship. These kind of things, you get an order for a specific CNC machines. That happens make to order. You get the order and then you supply it, right? But that is a smaller set of industry. That industry is 15 to 20%. 80 to 90% of the industry, let's say we talk about pharma industry, we talk about the retail industry, we talk about food manufacturing, we talk about consumer goods. These all industries work on, they would be putting the stock so that when the customer come, we are not saying, oh, I need a Parle-G Britannia biscuit. Oh, you wait, let us first cook, let us first bake the biscuits, then you will get it. No, right? It's on the shelf available for you. How come it's on the shelf available for you? How much you need, how much biscuits you will eat, how much I need to produce, how much should be there in my warehouse, how much should be there in my shelf. This is all planning, right? Somebody need to plan it, that what are the different customers I have and how much these customers would be requiring it. Somebody need to do that planning, right? How much I need to sell on every month in the month of January for my product A, B, C, D. What is the quantity I am expecting to sell? Whether it's car or it's biscuits or it's medicines, these kind of planning would be required, so that we should be, once you have your sales planning done, once you have this sales planning done, that every month, or it can goes to the weeks level also, every week, every product, what are we planning to sell it? Okay, so this is called demand planning, or this is also called S&OP, sales and operations planning. When my sales and operation planning is done, when I am able to receive or reach to the consensus of demand. Okay, consensus of demand means everybody agree that this would be the demand we need to work on, right? And reaching to the S&OP also, it would not be that simple. A lot of algorithms would be used. A lot of algorithms would be used here, right? A lot of algorithms would be used. A lot of departments would be included. Sales department, marketing department, procurement department, production department, because these all are impacted with the sales plan, sales and operation plan. So once this planning has been done, once my sales and operation planning has been done, then with help of this, I would be able to identify how much I need to produce, when I need to produce, which product I need to produce, how much quantity I need to produce, right? It all need to come through planning. Some planning tools, some planning engines, or some planners need to sit and decide that how much we want to sell it, and based on that, how much we need to produce it, and based on that, how much I need to procure it. How much I need to procure it. Everything need to be planned. And in the big companies, the Fortune 500 companies, where the business is expanded across the countries, multiple regions, so many products, so many customers, so many distribution centers, warehouses, the things would be very complex. The things would be very complex with the manual people sitting without help of a tool. It would not be possible to give a justification to our sales, production, and procurement. So that's where the heavy tools would be required so that we can plan our demand correctly, we can plan our production correctly, and we can plan our procurement correctly. So for sales, we need a planning. For production, we need a planning. For procurement, also we need a planning. Even we will also require an inventory planning. What is inventory planning? I need to store the material at the distribution center. How much I need to store? What should be my maximum stock levels? Right? That also I need to plan it. These things also I need to plan it. Right? So supply planning, transfer planning. If I am having my distribution center and my manufacturing plant, how much I need to transfer to the distribution center? If I have a multiple manufacturing units, which manufacturing unit need to transfer to which distribution center? These all are planning. How much I need to sell, how much I need to transfer it, when I need to transfer it, which product I need to transfer it, how much I need to store at the distribution center level, how much I need to produce, when I need to produce, what quantity I need to produce, and how much I need to procure it. Every place has a planning included. And every place the planning which is included would also be having a different tools to support them. Right? Different tools would be there to support them. Within SAP also we have a different tools to support them. And outside SAP, there are the third-party tools are also available to support those planning situations. Right? So this is the planning. Now, planning is nothing but to identify whatever you want to do, right? You want to sell or produce, making sure you have a right material available at right time in right quantity to do right activity, right? Whether it's sell, store, or buy, you should know right material, right time, right quantity to do the right activity. That's the planning tool does. A very simple definition, but it will require very complex algorithms to reach there because the business has a complexity. Business are not that simple. There are so much of influencing factors are there. And with the increase of social media, with the increase of this AI tools coming into the market, they are creating a quick buzz and the market is changing, right? You might have observed that how quickly the market got changed for NVIDIA, where basically a new Chinese AI tool come into the market and dump, right? So nowadays the things are changing very quickly because of the social media influence, because of the AI tool influence, the things change very quickly. So that tools also is required which can absorb those changes and which can reflect it into our supply chain. That's where the big names come into the picture. IBP, integrated business planning, a separate tool, right? I'm not an expert. I have worked a little bit on IBP, but I am not an expert of IBP. Sam is our real true expert in IBP. He will talk more about IBP. So I will leave the session and discussion to him to have a further discussion on the IBP. But the first thing is that now you should be clear कि भैया planning है क्या? What is the planning? You should be clear about it after this quick explanation, right? Dinesh is asking, is this useful for fresher? This is useful for fresher. भैया, Three Idiots you have watched, right? ज्ञान की गंगा जहां से भी बहे पकड़ लो. Right? So this is very basic. I'm talking about right now. कि planning है क्या? What is planning? You need to understand. So even though you are fresher, you would be going out after today's knowledge with a lot of information and knowledge. You would be able to explain somebody कि भैया, what is IBP? What is planning? Why, where it is required. Fresher have more empty space, so more things can fill up. Now, for these plannings, what are the different solutions? What are the different solutions offered by SAP? Okay. Now, apart from the SAP, there are also the solutions are available from the open market. Can you let me know in the chat quickly? What are the solutions available in the open market apart from SAP? SAP has a lot of different solutions. We'll talk about. I will also talk about what is IBP actually. But what are the different solutions available in the market quickly? What are the competitors of IBP? I'm getting the answer: JDA, Kinaxis, Oracle, O9, Oracle. Very good. What names I know in the market? O9, Kinaxis, JDA. These three are the good competitors, tough competitors for SAP IBP solutions, integrated business planning solutions, and there are many more. Oracle is also available, MSD is also available, but Oracle and MSD has little less competition. The tough fight is between O9, Kinaxis, IBP, and JDA systems. I that is my experience. It can be wrong also, right? But these are the tools which are tough competitor in market. But if we talk about कि भैया, okay, these are the planning things which we require different area. What are the solution SAP has for it? What solution SAP offers for it? Let's have a quick look. Basic planning features in ECC. ECC. So we have a multiple products. Okay, you should know this. ECC is a product which SAP is replacing with SAP S4 HANA. So we have ECC. Okay, SAP is now moving from ECC to SAP S4 HANA. These are SAP product name S4 HANA. Right? So ECC has some planning solution. S4 HANA also has some planning solution. Okay, the basic planning solution ECC have like material requirement planning, MRP. MRP is a tool which runs and try to check your demand versus supplies, and it would provide you the solution. So MRP is one of the solution which is available in ECC, right? And for the advanced things, if you want to go ahead with the advanced things, ECC always need to get connected. For the advanced planning, ECC always need to get connected with APO, Advanced Planning and Optimizer, which is called SAP SCM box. There is a separate box because this is a heavy algorithms. ECC cannot run it. ECC was just a transaction system. So there is a separate supply chain management or planning system where the APO is a separate module, separate consultants are there, Advanced Planning and Optimizer. This APO is having a different solution. Submodule is DP, Demand Planning. DP is Demand Planning. I was telling about S&OP. S&OP comes under DP. Then we have SNP, Supply Network Planning, which manufacturing plant need to supply to which distribution center, right? That kind of solutions comes under the SNP, Supply Network Planning. Then we have a GATP, Global Available to Promise. Now this is a solution where customer has given sales order to you. Customer does not give sales order. Customer always give purchase order. And in our system, we create a sales order. Now, when we create a sales order, customer is saying कि भैया, I need it, this material X 200 quantity by this particular date. That is customer requirement, right? Now we have multiple distribution centers. We have a stock. We have another customers. We have a purchase orders. We have a production orders. So many things are there. We need to give the confirmation back to the customer, right? Giving this confirmation back to the customer is a solution which comes under GATP. global available to promise. So where I would be able to check my stock at the different distribution centers, what existing sales orders are there, what is more stock is coming, what stock is already blocked, and based on that, what confirmation I can give back to my customer. Looks a simple functionality, right? But when you will jump into it, it is itself is a submodule, right? So GATP, global available to promise, is there. So DP, and another solution is there is PPDS, production planning and detailed scheduling. If I want to plan my production based on the different machines are available, which machines has been loaded at what time I can produce that particular material in that machine, so that I don't have a capacity overlap situations. That all production planning can be done with the submodules called production planning and detailed scheduling. So basic planning in ECC through MRP, and demand planning, supply network planning, global available to promise, and PPDS through APO. That was a situation in ECC, right? That was a situation in ECC. Now, with APO, how the situation is changing? APO has MRP. Now, S4HANA has MRP. Apart from MRP, S4HANA also have additional things has been put in because it's on HANA database system, which is an in-memory system. भैया ये बहुत fast भागता है, right? It runs very fast. So it can support MRP, it can support MRP live, it can support DDMRP, it can support predictive MRP, PMRP. These all are additional features. So MRP has been elevated with more functionalities in S4HANA, and every tool is so big that I can spend 4 or 5 hours to speak on every tool. That big is the functionality. That's why planning is the most complex things, right? Planning is the most complex thing, and the most complex things has a lot of pain to learn. And when you put a lot of pain to learn, the gain is also a lot. Go through some of our earlier videos, and people will explain you that how they are jumping in from the package of 8 lakhs to 32 lakhs, 8 lakhs to 26 lakhs of offer while learning IBP, right? It will not be easy to learn IBP. All this planning is very complex. It will require a lot of pain, a lot of patience, a lot of focus. But if you put that pain, the gain will come. Don't overwhelm with the terminologies I'm using. There are so many things. This is not IBP. This is not IBP. I still need to reach to IBP. IBP is another planning solutions. I'm just telling you that how vast and big is the planning solution within SAP itself. So these are the solutions. These are the solutions related to the MRP enhancement in SAP S4HANA. Then what SAP is saying, कि भैया this box we are going to have a sunset. SAP SCM box, the APO, they are going to do a sunset. Okay, so this box in future would not be available. After 2030, this is not going to be available. So this solutions, they are coming up with the cloud product. IBP is there, public cloud product, integrated business planning, which can actually provide a planning solution to any of the ERP. It can connect with the other ERP, it can connect with Oracle, it can connect with Microsoft Dynamics, or it can connect with SAP. Although you would see that maximum number of scenarios, even I know the maximum number of scenarios which I have seen. Sam can tell more, that maximum number of scenarios is IBP connected with SAP, because its SAP solution gets easily connected with the SAP ERP. So they come up with the new planning tool, IBP, and they said that DP would be available under the IBP. Under the demand management and demand planning solution, DP would move to IBP. SNP, supply network planning, will also move to IBP. SNP solution would also be available in IBP. And IBP, apart from that, would be having some additional functionality which was not there in APO. Let's say for inventory management, inventory planning, we would be having a DDMRP in IBP also. DDMRP in IBP also. Then we would also be having a supply planning. And then kind of a control tower would also be there to control all the planning activities. Some additional things would be there. Sam would talk more onto the IBP part of it, right? So DP is moving to IBP, SNP is moving to IBP, and IBP is coming with some more features. But what is happening to GATP and PPDS? GATP, Global Available to Promise, this will move to S/4HANA with the solution called AATP, Advanced Available to Promise. We have a separate training on AATP. AATP itself requires around 15 to 18 hours of training. We have a separate training on AATP. PPDS also, we are starting a training. It will start very soon. Anywhere in next 1 or 2 months, it will start. We have a PPDS, Production Planning Detail Scheduling, is also now ePPDS, which is available in S/4HANA. But these both solution is with extra license cost. And for the demand planning solution, it need to connect, S/4HANA need to connect. For supply planning solution, for SNP solution, S/4HANA need to connect with IBP to provide that solutions, right? So you can do in S/4HANA with connected with IBP, you can do MRP, MRP Live, DDMRP, Predictive MRP, you can do AATP, you can do ePPDS, and you can do the IBP solution like S&OP, demand management, demand planning, inventory solution, or supply planning solutions. Everything would be used for the different purpose. There will be different purpose for each and everything. Okay, everything would be having a different purpose. So we will be focusing here, ki bhaiya, what is this? If you want to learn MRP, it is taught in our SAP PP sessions. If you want to learn MRP Live, DDMRP, and PP Predictive MRP, it is part of our PP Excellence training sessions. If you want to learn AATP, there is a separate course for AATP. If you want to learn ePPDS, there is a separate course for ePPDS. If you want to learn IBP are the separate consultant, there is a separate course. Although they all link to planning, but they have in-depth features which somebody need to spend time and to learn them. Okay. With this, you would be able to understand ki bhaiya, what are the different solutions are available and how they are available and how they are connected. Now, with this information, you would be knowing that ki bhaiya, what is planning? Planning kya hai? And to do the planning, what are the solutions available outside SAP we have talked about? And what are the solutions which is available within SAP? That much of knowledge you would be having it, right? And IBP is one of the solution. It is very focused on to your demand management, demand planning, S&OP. It's a robust feature which is available through IBP. So what is IBP? It's an integrated business planning. It is kind of an advanced planning tool. It's a web-based, Fiori-based approach would be there, and a lot of Excel integration. Planners use Excel a lot. So you will see a lot of Excel integration. So rather than I'm speaking now more about IBP, I have put it a platform where you understand planning and the different planning terminologies. I would be handed over here to Mr. Sam, and he would be taking it ahead from here. Let me check if Sam is having access. Sam, if you can raise your hand, I will give you. Sam is already co-host access. Sam, can you try to unmute? Let's check if we are able to hear you.
Yes, I was able to unmute Parminder. Thanks for that. Am I
Okay.
audible?
Yes, you are audible, Sam. And before I give it to Sam, let me give a quick introduction for Sam. I always tell that I am having around 17 years of experience roughly 17 to 18 years of experience in SAP. I myself started my career journey in SAP PP. I know Sam personally almost more than 10 years. We have worked together in the projects. I was working in a project where I was handling the PP part around, I think, not 10 years, I think it's not 12 years.
It's 14 years now, Parminder.
Yeah. And Sam was there as an APO consultant. So I consider, a lot of people consider me as a guru when I am teaching, but I also have my gurus, and Sam is one of them. So whenever it comes to PP, whenever it comes to APO, whenever it comes to planning, I always reach back to Sam. Sam is having very enriched experience, 20 plus years of experience he is having, starting his career from as a core production and the planner, and jumping into the all the modules. He has worked on PP, he has worked on APU, he's working on IBP, I think more than 6 to 7 years. When the IBP was launched, he started working on it. So there are very less people available in market who has that much of enriched knowledge in IBP, and Sam is one of them. We always have to do a lot of follow up with the Sam to get his time so that the training can be started, and we are very lucky and grateful that Sam is associated with us. Apart from all of these categories, Sam has one of the unique category is passion about training, right? It's very important because when the things become complex, like planning things, we need someone who can simplify the things to teach you so that you are able to understand it. Otherwise, if we have someone who has knowledge on IBP, but what he speaks you don't understand because the things are complex and the trainer is not simplifying into the business language, then it will not insert in your mind. So by taking your all of these things, Sam is associated with us for more than 3 years, completed multiple IBP batches within SastraGeek Solution, these kind of batches, and multiple corporate batches. So if you are getting trained from the SAM, make sure, ensure that you are in very safe hands. With that quick introduction, Sam, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Parminder. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on your geography. Yes, myself and Parminder are friends for almost last 14 years. I remember we started our first journey for a FMCG client based in Africa, where we were taking care of PP as well as advanced planning and optimizer APU. The way Parminder was elaborating planning functions, right? So you would have some amount of visual understanding. What does supply chain planning consist of, right? So Parminder was talking about forecasting. It relates to demand planning. Parminder was also talking about supply planning, right? In the real world, once you predict the forecast, you need to also make sure whether you have sufficient stocks to fulfill those demands, or do you need to procure those materials or produce those materials, which could be related to replenishment plan proposals, right? So we also touch base the supply chain planning from the supply planning perspective. In the short term, once you have produced the goods or once you have stocks available, you also think about how do you distribute those stocks within your supply chain, right? So you also start thinking about your distribution planning functions. And in the short term, when your goal is to identify exact demands for production, you start working on the production plans. So it also talks about production planning. And when you prepare your production plans, you also look at your resources, you also look at your raw materials and start doing the detailed scheduling. And that's where this concept of production planning and detailed scheduling came into picture. Now, when you were elaborating your experiences, most of you have experience in the supply chain execution, right? Some people have exposure to SD, some have exposure to MM or PP and so on. That means somewhere you are linked to supply chain, probably more into execution area. Now there is a prerequisite to it, which is supply chain planning. So in our discussions or in our training curriculum, we will not only talk about system, we will talk about supply chain planning as an overall process. How does that happen in any industry? And in order to achieve that supply chain planning process, what are the tools used? What are the modules used within SAP? Right? That's how we will evolve ourselves, right? So end of the training, our objective is not to only understand about SAP IBP from the solution or system perspective. Our aim is to understand how supply chain planning as a process works, and in order to manage that process in a systematic way, how that process can be modeled in SAP IBP, right? During the training curriculum, you may see there would be different participants with experience range from freshers, shorter experience, or maybe some high-level experienced people from the supply chain execution part. So we will evolve our curriculum in a way that even a fresher can also understand the concepts, and the expert level from any other module will also get a direction what happens exactly from SAP perspective and how I can contribute as a lead in those specific solution deliveries, right? That's the way we have developed our curriculum. I will quickly showcase my screen and just walk us through some of the modules within IBP, and then let's see if there are any questions on top of it. So when Parminder was elaborating on different planning functions, we understood there is something called as forecasting, right? So take an example. Shraddha is one of the responsible person in the organization who is responsible to predict the demand. In every organization, you will find a important role to look at a demand planning function and identify those parameters which will help you to generate or predict the accurate demands. There could be different variable parameters which will influence those demand variability. So we will discuss those parameters in details once we initiate the training curriculum. If somebody is talking about demand planning as a process, SAP has also provided a independent module called as SAP for Demand, which will help you to generate statistical forecast using statistical algorithms. So we will also focus on statistics part here. It will also help you to come up with the consensus demand. So we will also understand more in depth what do we mean by consensus demand? What are the different ways the consensus demand can be calculated, and how it is different between unconstrained demand versus constrained demand, right? Those in-depth sub-modules are available in the IBP for Demand and under IBP for Demand license. Then we also talked about some part of supply planning calculation, where based on the demand as an input, we looked at our inventory, we calculate our net requirements and see how those net requirements can be fulfilled, right? In ECC world, you would have exposure to SAP MRP concepts. Similarly, it's the tactical planning process from the process perspective, where we'll talk about all those net requirement calculation functions. SAP said, we will provide you another module called as response and supply, which will help you to generate the supply planning. So we'll also discuss more about response and supply concepts. Now, within supply planning, you would have also heard in your early experience, we also require some kind of buffer inventory, a safety stock, right? Because my demand may have variability, my supply may have variability. So in order not to lose any ad hoc demands, I would always prefer to have some additional buffer stock, which is called as a safety stock. In IBP world, that's modeled under IBP for inventory, right? And as Parminder was mentioning, there are certain, you can say, advanced algorithms provided by SAP in terms of inventory optimization, in terms of DDMRP, right? So DDMRP is also available in IBP, and the similar concept is also available in S4. So based on the licenses, clients choose to opt whether they would like to go for IBP for DDMRP, or they can still use the S4 functionality of DDMRP. On top of it, since we talked about partly demand calculation, partly safety stock calculation, and partly supply planning calculation, always an organization will have a horizontal body which consists of members of these individual sub-processes, and they are responsible to carry out this collaborative process called as sales and operations planning, right? Which covers most of the tactical as well as strategic decision process making. So SAP came up with the individual module called as S&OP, right? So in our curriculum, we'll more focus on S&OP because it also has demand part of it, safety stock calculation part of it, and supply planning part of it, right? And we'll see if an organization wants to implement SLOP, what are the things which we need to take into considerations during workshops, during design discussions, and based on the outcome, how do we configure those solutions in system? Now, since we talk about planning concept, you need certain additional pointers to look at the results, right? In terms of alerts, in terms of KPI management, exception management, and so on. So SAP said, why not we give you a separate module altogether so that you can manage your alerts and exception handling very carefully. And that way SAP came up with a module called as supply chain and control tower. These are the high level of modules available in IBP, and we will get into a deep dive in each of the modules, right, during our discussions when the training starts. Right now, our focus is not to complicate the discussions, just want to give a high level visibility. When we talk about our training, we will not only focus on these modules, but we will also focus on the process associated with these system solutions. That's the key. In reality, and even Parminder will talk to you when you discuss more about your career aspirations, there are roles within IT organization which will help you to evolve if you have knowledge about system. But at the same time, if you start talking about a business language, there are additional roles exist in business operations, which will help you to become a planner, which will help you to become a key user or SME, right? So there are multiple roles associated in business side as well as in IT side to achieve our aspirations. High level, these are the modules. We'll see which modules are specifically used for what functions, right? I'll quickly jump to other slides just to showcase you some more architecture perspective view. If you look at the central box, you see IBP has its own engine. So we'll have to configure IBP in such a way that we cover all the client specific requirements. What are the attributes or sub modules within those models or engines? We will discuss in details. From a user perspective, on the right side, you see the way IBP can be utilized and monitored. As an user, you may prefer to work in an Excel format, an Excel view, which in turn associated with the IBP architecture. From a planner perspective, you are still working on Excel. That's the key, right? Over the period, you would have also observed that most of the planners spend their entire time in Excel. And then SAP thought, why not provide them Excel as a front end rather than giving them any other complicated views? Simplified Excel view, right? We will see how Excel as a front end can be configured, whereas in the back end, it's still IBP. Is it the only way we can use IBP from the front end perspective? SAP said no. We will give you additional features where you can log into a specific web URL and use web URL for carrying out those specific functions. In our SAP world, we used to have transaction codes. In IBP, there is no transaction code. You will see a concept of Fury apps, right? Individual Fury app will have a specific function to carry out. So we'll also learn how those Fury apps get operated. How do I as a IBP consultant understand what is the purpose of that Fury app? And from the roles and authorization perspective, which Fury applications can be assigned to specific business functions, right? Example, Shraddha being a demand planner should only have access to those Fury apps related to demand planning. Whereas Debolina as a supply planner will have access to additional Fury apps for supply planning. Then SAP also thought of IBP is one of the planning function. However, there are additional systems IBP needs to connect it to. From SAP ECC or S4 perspective, from execution side, BW or any SmartMart or data lakes from reporting perspective, APO as one of the example, or it may have connection to non-SAP systems. So SAP said, if you want to integrate these another SAP or non-SAP systems with SAP IBP, SAP provided a middleware, a standard middleware called as CIDS. Now, the recent name of it is Cloud Integration for Data Services, and that's why it is called as CIDS. Right? It is similar to any other ETLs. It's more of a technical tool where you will try to map the data and bring it into IBP in a required format. So if you have a question that, Sam, whether I will understand this concept, I'm more of a functional guy. Answer is yes. In our day-to-day world, we would have also created functional specifications to integrate data from different systems, and that would have been handed over to technical team for building those interfaces. In similar world, we will also design these integrations and hand over to a technical middleware person to build those interfaces. So we play a key role here as a functional consultant to design the data integration. Right. So our objective in this training is also to understand how this data integration design works. Right. I will quickly jump to the training curriculum, what Parminder was mentioning, and that will give you an idea about how deep this overall training curriculum is into and which all modules we will be covering. So we'll start with, again, the planning overview and IBP overview. So you will see in the first two sessions, I may hardly touch base any IBP functionalities. I will only focus on making sure you are wearing that planner's hat and understand the planning processes altogether. Once you understand that planning process altogether, we will jump into the system and see from the configuration perspective, how can we model the planning area architecture? This is a key from configuration. Once you understand what are the details we need to include in this planning area configuration or a instance modeling, we'll get into a deep dive of how does a normal S&OP process looks like in any organization. In order to carry out this S&OP process, which are the different functions I need to configure? So we talk about some functions called as unified planning area, some new terminologies called as time series planning, and so on. So we'll get to know what do we mean by all these terminologies. Once we get a comfort level on S&OP, we will also touch base on the data integration concepts. In this training curriculum, we do not touch base the CIDS technical part of it. But as a functional consultant, what is the concept from data integration? How you look at a master data and transactional data from integration, we will cover. Then we will jump into a detailed demand planning modules, where we'll talk about statistical forecasting, new product introduction, concept of unconstrained versus constrained demand. How does the key figure calculation look like? What do we mean by key figure, right? What do we mean by time series analysis from demand planning perspective, and so on. So lot of new terminologies, which probably we are hearing for the first time, will be covered on those specific submodules. Once we are done with the demand planning, we will switch our focus to time series supply planning. And within time series supply planning, we will cover the heuristics part. So there are different algorithms within supply planning. However, in order to make the training very focused, we will start with the time series supply planning heuristics. There could be another deep dive sessions or deep dive trainings once you have achieved certain level of capability in planning. Then you can think about constraint based optimizers and so on, right? But most of the time, you would see organizations going with a simple planning solution, not to complicate it from the user perspective, but at the same time making sure the net requirements are calculated correctly using time series engines. Once that is done, we also cover the rules and authorization part. Here, we as IBP consultants would design those roles and would configure those roles in system. Whereas in our ECC or S4 world, it was a basis team or security team, right? So this way, we also get to know what exactly are the functions, sub-functions within an organization, and how can I control the data restriction. And then, as I mentioned, from control tower perspective, we will also touch base on the custom alerts. Now, the way we will evolve in this curriculum is we will start with a very low pace so that everybody gets onto the same page. And then based on the experience level of participants, we'll speed up. At the same time, we will also try to give more direction to the experienced people to explore additional functionalities of driver-based planning, right? Or advanced analytics and so on, right? But at the same time, we'll have to take into consideration there will be people in the training group who are kind of freshers or not from the planning background. So our focus is not to finish the training from the system perspective, start slowly, get a momentum, understand supply chain planning processes, and then understand how those processes will be modeled in system. I think it will be an interesting journey together. Let's see how it goes. I take a pause and see if there are any questions. I'm not sure if there are any questions populated in chat. Right. So one of the comment was BTP came into mind when you said IBP. So BTP is more of a technical term, Niharika. IBP is most of the time you would see this as a supply chain planning solution, a tool, right? BTP has wider functionalities where you can use it as a low-code platform, take out all your customization out of S4, manage that in BTP, and then integrate with your S4, right? But BTP is not the supply chain planning tool as such. As Parminder was also mentioning, from planning perspective, nowadays there are different solutions or systems available who are catching up. As he mentioned the examples, Kinaxis could be one of them, O9 could be one of them, JD could be one of them, and IBP is still there. The way IBP is catching up nowadays, IBP started its journey from 2015, 2016 onwards, and SAP focused more on maturing its S&OP and demand planning component. And you would see most of the clients are going for those specific modules. Whereas from supply planning perspective, SAP APO was still there. However, SAP was struggling to incorporate SAP APO's functionalities into response and supply. And because of that reason, it took some time for organizations to decide whether they should go for full-fledged SAP IBP from response and planning perspective also, or they should look for any other alternatives like Kinaxis, O9, and so on. Nowadays, response and supply is getting matured. A lot of organizations are moving towards SAP IBP for end-to-end solution, right? S&OP and demand is obviously matured. And a smooth integration with S4 or ECC makes it more flexible, right? Whereas if you want to integrate Kinaxis or O9 with SAP tools, you need a lot of customizations. So that's the key. So I won't say that it's only SAP IBP. There are Kinaxis, O9 which are competing with SAP. But yes, SAP IBP has also added advantage because of integration. One question from Dinesh was, yes, is this useful for a fresher? Yes. In our last 4 to 5 batches, we had a lot of freshers participating in the training, and end of the session, they were equally good with an experience of 2 to 3 years of any supply chain IT consultant, right? So that's the reason why I said we don't just focus on the system. We make sure everybody understand the process, wear that planner's hat, and then start thinking about how IBP can be modeled. Same question is for ABAP. There's no ABAP as such in IBP. right? SAP came up with a low-level code, but if somebody is a technical expert, we have seen people migrating from technical background to functional background. And when we talk about planning area architecture, when we talk about key figure formula, when we talk about analytical stories, you will be able to relate that yes, there is a part of technical thinking within it. Not sure if I missed out any messages, but let's explore. Senthil asks, IBP is mainly used for IMPP and SCM. For finance and HR there will be different planning systems. Partly yes, Senthil. I mean, most of the time you would see IBP is used for supply chain planning processes. However, SAP has also proposed to use IBP for your financial calculations. So in a way, organizations are also building their logic to calculate their financial projections, in a way to predict their financial projections using IBP tool. It's possible. A lot of clients have used SAP IBP from the financial projection planning perspective. HR, definitely not. There are different tools used for HR, right? But within finance, you have different sub processes. Some would be tackled under FSCM, some would be tackled under non-SAP tools, right? But if you want to calculate your projection planning, definitely IBP is one of them. Added advantage here is the concept of what if analysis, scenario planning, which helps you to take decisions in a faster way. So we will see how that scenario planning helps here as a planner, right? From the execution perspective, Niharika, you're right. It's the SAP FICO module, which will be used from finance. But before that, if you want to think about high level commercial forecast planning process, right, where you talk about looking at your demand for the long term of 3 to 5 years in currency, right, then you can also use IBP. Most of the time, supply chain planning function focuses on quantity projections, whereas your finance or controlling team would focus on the currency projections. Both are possible in IBP, right? So it's a planning tool as such. Kapil will cover the unconstrained versus constrained demand logic in details. But if I want to elaborate it in one line, you can say just looking at your demand projection, you come up with those numbers. Those are unconstrained. Whereas looking at the bottlenecks within your supply chain, looking at the components availability, looking at the constraints within work center, machine, or resource availability, and finalizing those numbers will be the constraint demand calculation, right? So that's how you can just elaborate between unconstrained versus constrained. You as a demand planner, do not worry about your supply chain constraint. You only look at how much you want to sell it is your unconstrained demand planning. But while doing that, if you look at whether I'll be able to produce this material, what is the constraint available from raw material or machine or labor perspective? Do I need to adjust my numbers? That's your constraint demand calculation, right? So within S&OP, there are processes which talks about unconstrained demand calculation and then constraint demand calculation. So we'll see the cadence, how you first calculate your unconstrained and then come up with your constraint numbers. Right. Interestingly, when you'll start getting into IBP, you will start realizing that there are so many topics which are still related to supply chain, but we were not aware of because we only focused on execution. I only focused on how the production order is created, released, a goods issue can be done, a goods receipt can be done. So I was a production person, but was only focusing on execution. Whereas I, as a MM consultant, was only focusing on purchase order execution part. But in order to generate a purchase order, there is a purchase requisition required. How that purchase requisition can be planned, that's the part which probably I never exposed. So it will be an interesting area for us to take one step ahead and see overall within supply chain, how I can act as a collaborative entity, look at the entire supply chain part from demand to production to procurement and to distribution, right? So that's the way we will try to focus our discussion during the training curriculum. I take a pause and see if there are any further questions before I hand it over to Parvinder. Yes. Does IBP help in new planning, new disease and plants? Yes. Also, basically, it will also allow you to model your entire supply chain and come up with your analytics. So that's possible. You have analytics model within IBP, which will help you to look at those exceptions and then plan based on those exceptions. Anybody who doesn't have knowledge of SAP, still we can undergo this course. What it takes is probably will take couple of more sessions for us to understand new terminologies, right? As I said, we are first focusing on process. So we'll understand the process first, and then we'll start talking about SAP system. Nowadays, if you look at people entering into IBP area, you would see most of the people are freshers, most of the people are MBA graduates, right? Who have some understanding of planning processes, and now with the knowledge of system, they are able to also lead the solution delivery in the bigger organizations. So it is not mandatory that you should know SAP, and it's not applicable only for IBP module. Be it any module, if you are focused to understand how supply chain works from planning perspective, from execution perspective, any module of SAP you can learn. I think we are good. Parminder, maybe you want to take it back and let's see if there are any more interactive discussions.
Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you for covering this quickly, the IBP part. I had one of the question in between. I think it's from Kapil. Is there an alternate method to plan a customer return through MRP without MRP any and a brief overview? Okay, that's out of the topic from IBP, but that may be, Kapil, we can discuss something sometime later on. That would be very good to understand how can we plan a customer return. I have not seen that scenario before, so maybe I will connect with you sometime later in PP forums that where the scenario come where the return also need to be planned from the customer. Okay.
Parminder, just to add on to this question, I think yes, it was an interesting question from Kapil. But Kapil, if you look at a chemical industry scenario, right, and take an example, probably your chemical manufacturer for seeds. Most of the time, what happens is you maybe pre-build your stocks, push it to your distributors, like farmers or growers, right, and ask them to consume it as per their needs. What you have done is you have looked at the forecasting from the yearly forecast perspective, divided that forecast in the monthly buckets, and pushed the stocks or inventories to distributors. Whereas at some point of time, probably during end of season, those distributors would prefer to return back certain finished goods if they are not consumed, right? And it is anticipated. So yes, during S&OP, you anticipate some of the customer returns, and you may want to also include it as part of one of the opinion line just to give visibility to your supply chain, right? But that's the only high level process even I am exposed to. And that's where Parminder was also trying to think, how can you plan customer returns, right? So it's a tricky topic, but yes, part of it I understand can be at least predict just to understand how much of the inventory which I had pushed to distributor can come back.
Great. I also got some knowledge now, got some idea. Yeah, there can be some scenarios. Thank you for Sam for pitching up there. Ali is asking, can we create a WhatsApp group? It would not be WhatsApp group, it would be a Telegram group which will create it, because in WhatsApp your numbers are shared, and we are the company who follow the GDPR and ISO 27001 compliance, so we cannot share the personal information. So we'll be creating a Telegram group, and in that Telegram group, it's your responsibility to hide your number. You can hide your number in Telegram, and so that the data security is there. Sandeep is asking whether it's IBP or Connexus, the planning process module and the integration should be same. The core business processes would be definitely same, but the interface, how it looks like, the way we do it, and the little bit of configuration can change. But that is for sure. If you learn IBP in future, if Connexus comes, you would be able to easily learn Connexus. The efforts would be very less. Or if the O9 comes in future, right, you would be able to easily learn those products. Jumping from one product to other product would be much easy, because the planning processes, business processes remain same. Okay, the link has been given. The timing has been given if you want to join the session. Before we jump into some further questions, I want to quickly cover who can learn SAP IBP. Okay. So if you are an existing consultant, if you are an APO consultant, if you are an APO consultant, it's must. You must learn SAP IBP, because APO is going to shut down, APO is going to sunset. So IBP is the one which you need to adopt for. It's a very good module for the PP consultants also. PP has the planning included. So PP can go to the IBP, PP people can also go to the PPDS. That is very enriched planning tools. PP has still execution included in it. IBP is pure planning, PPDS is pure planning. So if you go into those tools, that are the niche tools and niche skills you can put your hand on. SD and MM consultant can also adopt, because SD include a lot of sales information, sales related business knowledge you would be having, which is required for the forecasting, demand planning, and sales and operations planning. It is required. So SD and MM consultant can also go ahead and learn SAP IBP. If you have a domain knowledge, if you have enriched planning experience, right? If you are working as a planner anywhere, you can go for IBP. You must go for IBP, because even IBP end user also, even you don't become a consultant in IBP, even if you become a IBP end user, IBP end user average salary is also equivalent or sometimes more than a normal module consultant, than a SDMM consultant, normal SDMM consultant. The IBP end user packages can be more, because it's so complicated. Even to handle this tool as an end user, also intelligence knowledge would be required. It's not like any XYZ that end user can do. Intelligent planners are required to handle these intelligent tools. So even if you learn this training, and even if you become a end user in IBP, that also would be a great achievement. You might be earning more than a consultant in normal module. Can freshers do it, right? You can do it as a fresher, but make sure you are ready to put all of the efforts about the plannings. What Sam is training, you need to go through that. You need to put additional efforts to go through the planning steps and processes, do the Google research in the Googles, and try to gain more knowledge related to planning. And then you can start as a fresher, you can start as an IBP key user or IBP end user, you can get it started. Okay, that would also be a good start, and within 2 to 3 years you can jump it into a IBP consultant. So with this knowledge, with this training, there would be the people who would be able to start the career as IBP consultant, or there would be people who would be starting their career as an IBP end user in the business processes. Both opportunities would be there, right? The people who are already working as a consultant, they would be going into as a IBP consulting roles. People who are not working as a consultant, they can go into the consultant role. It can be the first consultant level job they can get it. Otherwise, they need to make sure that they can also start their career as an IBP end user. Okay, so that is the one who can do and who can learn SAP IBP that I've tried to cover. Let me quickly check if you have any questions related IBP, ask it now. Then I would be asking Sam to leave, and any another module related career counseling questions if you have, we would be covering that. Anything on how configurations be covered? Anything on how config? Yes, whatever the things you required to do the IBP to handle the tool, that Sam would be covering it.
Exactly, Parminder. I think in IBP, we do not call it as a configuration. Configuration is more of a term used in ECC or S4 perspective. In IBP, we call it as a modeling, right? So as a planner or as a consultant, you should be able to model your solution, right? Which in a way has a configuration part of it, but in a fancy term nowadays, the word is modeling, right?
Thank you, Sam. Senthil is asking, construction project heavily depend on the project planning and how IBP is supporting the industry. Now, you need to understand there are the different kind of plannings, which I have missed is the project planning. Now, the project planning is again a different set of planning, right? For project planning, we have a different set of tools are there. In construction industry, if I remember, I have also worked, I think Primavera or some tools are there which is specifically for the construction project planning. Those kind of tools are required. As best of my knowledge, that is a different kind of planning which you need to do for projects. And IBP has a different planning solution for the supply chain. Sam, if you can correct me, IBP has some things which is introduced which can help in the project planning also.
That's right. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Niharika says, sir, I'm here for another module. Can you please give me a chance to discuss at the end? Sure, Niharika, once we finish this IBP questions, we'll be switching to another career counseling or another module related questions. Sandeep is asking, this time is very difficult to accommodate for me. I have already registered for training and raised my concern. Could you please discuss in the timing again? Okay, the timing is a problem for Sandeep. Sandeep, these sessions would be happening is only for 40 hours, right? If you can bring that time, or if you are not able to attend any session live, the recordings would be there. But we are also limited to make sure that the trainer's availability, the SAM's availability, SAM is working on a live project. So his most of the engagement goes in project, and these are very complicated project where he need not to give 8 hours, but to 10 to 12 hours sometime we need to give for the project. So his time availability also we need to check it. So we also have a constraint. I hope you would be able to understand our constraints also. And if you have any problem joining the session, the recordings are always available. IBP course duration. Sam, can you confirm that the last batch in how many hours we were able to get it completed?
I think we planned for 30 hours, but yes, in the range of 30 to 35, we can say. Sometimes we use couple of sessions for recap, revise ourselves, discuss frequently asked questions in interviews and so on. But yes, in general, it's 30 to 35 hours of training.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. With that, we have covered all the questions which you have asked related to IBP. And I would thanks a lot. Thank you, Sam, for joining this, for giving this quick overview on IBP and answering a lot of questions on IBP. Thank you very much for joining today's session. And you and me also would be catching it up when we start the first IBP session. I would just join there again to put the platform, but the full training would be handled by Sam. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sam. Now we are jumping into the third segment, which was the segment where basically you can ask your career related questions or any other module related questions you have. Again, the career. We are focusing the third segment, the career related questions or your module selection related questions. That questions if you have, we would be answering them. So quickly put your questions in the chat, and you can also feel free to raise your hand so that I can give you the unmute access. If you want to speak, you can raise your hand. If you want to type, put it into the chat, your question. The other people who does not have any career related questions who joined this session for the IBP overview that has been done, you can feel free to drop. Shrikant is asking any support post training like job placements. Yes, we have support post trainings. We have also created the specific program like SAP Job Hunt Mastery, that is to support to get a job. So our idea is that when you're getting the training, you should reach and you should be convert yourself as a consultant. So we help you to prepare for the interview, the last session which Sam would be taking you to prepare you for the interview. And then we will also be having a sessions where we will be uh, also helping you for the resume preparation. So resume preparation, we have a separate course which will be given to you so that you can prepare your resume, submit it for the reviews. Anybody wants unmute access, please raise the hand so that I can give you the unmute access. Scheduled time for the sessions are Saturday and Sunday, 7:30 a.m. IST. Saturday and Sunday, 7:30 a.m. IST, which can be, if somebody is joining from US, it might be Friday evening and Saturday evening for them. Mandeep Sharma, let me find Mandeep Sharma. There is a Mandeep Sharma. Yeah, Mandeep, you would be able to unmute yourself now. Mandeep, can you unmute yourself? Okay, Mandeep, I am asking you to unmute. I'm not sure why you are not able to unmute. You can type your question in the chat. By the time I will go to someone else. Ali, is there any training as exercise just to gain experience working for a company for free, just to get experience? So that is the part of the internship where basically you sit with the other consultants and you work on an implementation project. So right now we are doing a USA construction project, which is going very well. There are almost 20 plus consultants are involved in it. SD, MM, PP, FICO, ABAP, they sit together and in 4 months they complete the implementation project in the system and by creating all the documentation. That is to gain the experience to work into the company, right? Now you need to understand the kind of work you are looking for, Ali, that as a consultant is not a very simple work. The company system would be your hands. So they don't give that system or they don't give the consulting work to someone, okay, even though you're not charging, they will not give it to someone. The onboarding process for a client itself take 3 rounds of interviews, right? And you need to be experienced to clear those interviews, then you will be able to work. We understand that people need to gain the experience so that they can work on those positions. So that's where we have an internship program which can help you for that. Okay, so if you have taken from SastraGeek any two bundles, if you have taken from SastraGeek and if you have a sufficient server access, you would be able to participate in those internships. We don't charge for it, but you need to be a SastraGeek students with 2 bundle accesses.
Hi, Parminder. I hope you can hear me now. Mandeep here.
Yeah, Mandeep, I can hear you now.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for your patience. Parminder, so I would really like to know about the module called Ariba. And you have already sent me a couple of links, which was really, really useful. Now, the problem is because I'm in UK, I would not able to join the classes, which will start around 2:30 UK time, because I have to be work at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, I've been trying to reach you, but it's very difficult. I've got a booking for 11th of March, our one-to-one session. And I would really like to start before 11th of March. I really don't want to waste my time. So I've got a couple of questions. Like, I know there is a bundle which will give access to the server. However, through my company, I already have a sandbox, the UAT, which covers almost all the modules. So I need to discuss about that. How do you think only video access will help me, or do I need to go for the live classes? I'm a little bit confused here. That's what I would like to hear from you.
Okay, so the other two things are there, right? So one thing is that if the time does not support you, then you might not be able to attend all of the live sessions, right? That is one of the case which is going to happen. You can go
Great.
ahead with the recorded videos and you can go ahead with your server access. You can work it whenever you are going with your server access and the recorded videos. Whatever the problem you are getting, it will not be able to help you. The the benefit of getting a live session is, even though you are not able to attend all of the live sessions, when you get the live sessions, you also get the recording of the previous sessions also, the previous batch, whichever we have completed, that recordings you will also be getting it. The benefit
Okay.
of the live session is, let's say you got stuck something and you need to have a discussion with the trainer. You need some advice from them. You need to speak with them. You have a chance because you have taken the live session. You can wake up one of the day and at the end you can ask few questions which you have a doubt. So you would be able to do that. Or any specific topic which is not clear and you see that the live session is happening for that topic, you can wake up midnight for one that particular session and you would be able to join it. That's
All
it.
right. Okay. So thank you so much for answering. So let me just summarize there. Even though, so you're saying if I just go for the recorded videos, I wouldn't have no access to the live chat. So for that, I need to go for the package, which is the live classes. Is that right to say?
That's right. That's right.
And that live classes also include the server, or that doesn't matter? Server is totally different from there.
I think we have a two package. Somebody from support team, maybe Bhupender or someone, Aman can confirm it. That I think we have a two package for the live session also with server and without server, if I am not wrong.
Okay, that's great. So Bhupinder can help me with that. I've been chasing Bhupinder also. Thank you so much, Bhupinder, for helping me. I know I must be irritating you, but it's just something I really want to do as soon as possible, Bhupinder. That's the reason. But thank you.
No, not a
And
problem. You can feel free to reach to my team 10 times with the same question. We don't mind it.
I really appreciate. And could you also please tell me whether you will able to give me the material for mock exams, or will that be under the bundle as well?
It was earlier in the bundle, now we have removed it. If you require, we will get it provided to you. We'll let you know the additional cost. It would be minor additional cost for it. For the mock test questions, we will be able to
Mhm.
get you provided. So we are providing for Ariba on demand. Those
On
things.
demand. Okay, let me just write it down. On demand. There would be a small amount of cost, correct?
That's right.
Thank you. I will still like to go for my one-to-one counseling with you on that. I think it's on 11th of March. So hopefully you please do not cancel, because I found this very useful. These SastraGeek, someone recommended me. I wish I could have known this earlier. But thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you. Your kind words and appreciation words give us encouragement to do more. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
Okay, that was a question from Mandeep. A few questions has been answered by team. Niharika wants to unmute. Here is Niharika.
Hello.
Yeah, hi Niharika.
Yeah, hi, sir. So my question was for the SAP TM. When you are starting with the SAP TM module?
TM module, we are going to start very soon. It is already in the pipeline. Bhupender, can you confirm when is the TM start date?
And it is whether it is a technical side or a functional one.
Functional one. But
Okay.
TM training is a functional course, it's not technical.
And for freshers also, they can get into a functional one, right? There is ongoing demand for
You are
that.
looking for yourself?
So one of my
One
friend,
of one of your
yeah,
friend. What kind of experience he or she has?
he just passed out.
MBA,
Just BTech,
BTech in which stream?
computer science.
And why does he or she wants to do TM?
I am elder to him, so I thought to suggest the same. So I had went through this TM concepts, so I found that will be helpful for him also.
No, it's important to give him a right path, right? If he has done computer science, then the first question comes that do he has interest in the technical side, the coding side. If we
What I have suggested is on functional side, the technical side I was into before, so he was seeing that. So he said that if it is on functional side, he is interested on the same path.
Okay, if function side is interested in the same path, if you will
Yeah.
ask me if I need to guide him,
Yeah,
if
please.
I need to guide him, I would suggest him. If you need to take him to the TM path, I would be suggesting him to go for SD Mastery first because that is a core module. He would be able to understand supply chain, the sales principles, the distribution principles with SAP SD, and then it would be good for him to jump into SAP TM later on. So you need to do a step by step. First, let him do SAP SD, and there is also benefit of doing SAP SD. When you have SD and TM, then you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a wider broad to apply for the jobs.
Yeah. That's fine. Okay. I will share to him also. Actually, he is also on class. Dinesh,
No, Dinesh,
he joined. Yeah.
Dinesh, I am also giving you access to unmute if you want to unmute and speak.
I asked him to join for this. If you have some question, please answer to him once.
Yeah. Dinesh, do you have any other question apart from what Niharika is asking?
No, sir. I don't have any questions. That I asked earlier that is this useful for fresher or
One more option I can give you, Dinesh.
yeah,
So you have completed your sorry, computer science. I'm so much into SAPs. When somebody starting with C, I correlate with SAP CS computers. It's not customer service and computer science you have completed.
fine.
After completing that, are you doing some job right now?
No, sir.
You are not doing some job. Okay. So right now you are looking for job, and before going for job, you want to upskill yourself, right?
Yeah.
For freshers, there is one another program we have that is called the Gurukul program.
Okay.
You can check with the team, they will share the link for the Gurukul. Gurukul is a 1 year intensive program where we will be able to we'll take you to the SD Mastery, SD Excellent, and TM. Learning SAP is very wide, and even if you want to just do a kickstart with some basics, takes time. So that's a 1 year intensive program where you will be joining SastraGeek Solutions, your IDs, contract, and then we would also be for it was 1 year program. The second 6 months will also give you the internship also per month basis, right? That will be
Fine.
given to you, and then we will try to develop you 360-degree as a
Okay.
consultant, right?
Yeah.
So then after that, when you will joining any company or when you apply for any company, there's a chances that you can be consumed within the SastraGeek also. There's a high chances for that. Or
Okay.
after that, if you will be going outside, you will be going with 1 year of experience. Where in this
Yeah.
1 year, you will be involved into the different internship projects, multiple internship projects. So you would be having exposure to the implementation projects which you would be able to showcase. So I think you can reach out to my support team asking them the detail for the Gurukul program.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for time.
Sure. Thank you for joining, Dinesh. Gurukul blog has been shared by Bhupender. It is in the chat. You can go through the Gurukul blog and try to understand how this Gurukul program work. Okay, that was the last question I was having. If nobody has any question, we will be ending this call here, and we'll be catching up with you in the next Sunday call with another topic in the Step Up Circle. Thank you everyone for joining for this call, and have a great week ahead. Bye bye for now.